Disney have dropped another mystical adventure based off of one of their theme park rides in the shape of Jungle Cruise. And just like every movie these days, it's packed full of Easter eggs, sneak callbacks, and hidden details. In this video, we will take a look at a number of Easter eggs and references to other movies, real historical details that inspired the movie, and of course, nods to the ride it was based upon. Let's take a look. While there are certainly parallels to be drawn to the likes of Indiana Jones, The Mummy, and even Jumanji, the most obvious movie Jungle Cruise shares similarities to is Pirates of the Caribbean. Both have charming leading men who like to drink, both have the other leading characters played by British actors, both of course are based off of rides from Disneyland, both to some degree involve boats, both involve the pursuit of a mythical object that possesses magical qualities, and of course, both involve a curse that leads to eternal life. Like Captain Jack, Skipper Frank is also afflicted by the curse, although that's not revealed till later on in the movie. Spoiler. However, these are just similarities, but there is one nod to Pirates of the Caribbean, and in particular, the Black Pearl. As Lily's trying to recover the arrowhead from the restoration room, one of the researchers can be seen scraping barnacles off of a ship cannon, which can be seen as a reference to the Pearl. But there's another movie that Jungle Cruise makes references to, and that is The African Queen. Now, if you're a fan of the Disney ride, formerly known as Jungle River Cruise, you might know that it was inspired by the movie African Queen starring Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn, and Disney Imagineer Harper Goff referenced the movie constantly while working on it. Seeing as the ride is inspired by the movie, is it any surprise then that the movie inspired by the ride is also inspired by the movie that inspired the ride? And wow, that was a confusing sentence. Anyway, both movies have a similar plot, both revolving around a skipper who ends up getting involved with a sister and brother who require passage down a waterway during the Great War. As we mentioned, and as you probably already knew, Jungle Cruise is based on a theme park ride, and a big part of that ride are the skippers who pilot the boats, hence why Frank calls himself Skipper and gets annoyed when, Lily calls him Skippy.
Don't you worry about that, Skippy.
Lady, it's Skipper.
Skippers are vital to the ride, and are often played by charismatic and talented individuals, and being a skipper was actually how the likes of Kevin Costner and John Lasseter got their starts in life. Another major aspect of being a skipper, though, is pulling off the cheesy dad jokes that are so bad they're good.
Before this, I used to work in an orange juice factory, but I got canned.
While the ride was open in 1955, the jokes made their way to the ride in the 60s, with one of the most famous being in regards to an alligator called Ginger who snaps, with her being one tough cookie. You get it? Ginger snap, like the cookie. Anyway, that is also why Frank is constantly firing off those jokes during the movie, with one of the best jokes being when Frank gestures to limestone and says, "Some people take them for granite."
The river are sandstone, but some people just take them for granted.
One of his bolder attractions, What makes this funnier is the fact that, he's The Rock. Also, a slice of apple pie is $2 in Jamaica, while it's $2.50 in the Bahamas. These, my friends, are the pirates of the Caribbean. Boom! Listen, I'm not gonna lie here. I have been waiting to slip that one into one of these videos for a long time. One of the biggest nods to the ride, though, is the backside of the water gag. This has been a reoccurring joke for the Disney ride, and the eighth wonder of the world is seen as an essential part of the ride's experience.
It's completely different. It's the eighth wonder of the world, the backside of water. Guys, get your cameras out, come on. You don't want to miss this. Snap.
So keeping it out of the movie was basically impossible. Speaking of the falls, if you have been on the ride, you may know that the falls are called Schweitzer Falls.
And this is Schweitzer Falls, named after Dr. Schweitzer.
And were discovered by Dr. Albert Falls, with the fictional explorer becoming a major part of the ride's lore and a reoccurring joke. While Dr. Falls doesn't make an appearance in the movie, he is at least referenced as an off-screen character with his maps, travel documents, and arrowhead being the items Lily is searching for. Dr. Falls is mentioned several times throughout the movie, but the most direct reference is the moment that Lily finds the arrowhead in a crate labeled with Dr. A. Falls. Continuing on with Dr. Falls, he was also the founder of the fictional business that resides in Adventureland and the Jungle Cruise ride, Jungle Navigation Company Limited, which was introduced to the ride in the 90s. JNC is the company that runs the Jungle Cruise tours and owns a fleet of the boats to do so. In the movie, we can see a logo for the Jungle Navigation Company Limited at the docks, while the scene where Frank serves up piranhas for dinner, that's a nod to the not piranha sustainable fish dish served at the Skipper Canteen Mess Hall style eatery. It wouldn't be a Disney movie without the memorable appearance of an eccentric animal, now would it? In Jungle Cruise, we get this via Nilo's pet cockatoo Rosita, who likes to mention how Frank owes Nilo money. However, Rosita is actually a reference to Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room, which features the showgirl birds who sing "Let's All Sing Like the Birdies Sing." However, Rosita decided that she had enough and wanted to travel to different rides, eventually finding herself on the Jungle Cruise. Also, quick fun fact, the real-life bird in the movie is actually called Lover Girl, and it was actually actor Paul Giamatti's idea to include a cockatoo as the character's sidekick. Speaking of Paul Giamatti, his horribly sunburned character, like seriously dude, put on some sunscreen, is called Nilo Nemolato, and his last name is actually a reference to the House of Mouse. No, it's not Finding Nemo, at least I don't think it is. But it's actually a reference to Luca Nemolato, who was a concept artist who ended up working on Jungle Cruise. Now, we've mentioned a number of references the movie takes to the ride, but since the ride reopened, it actually makes a reference to the movie. In The Office, you can find Lily's coat, as well as the hats worn by the main characters and her framed map. I was a bit of a cheetah on this one, but at least I'm not lying. Boom, I'm killing it. Big cat reference there. Sorry, I'll stop now. I know, I can't pull them off like The Rock, I get it. Now, the ride has undergone some changes due to the negative connotations from some of the characters in the ride, such as Trader Sam, for example. The ride changed the character due to these connotations, and so too did the movie, by changing the character to a woman, played by Veronica Falcone, and updating the character somewhat. Now, while the Jungle Cruise movie and the ride have animatronic animals in common, one thing they do not is setting. While the movie predominantly takes place in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, the ride goes through multiple different locations, but one of the main ones is actually Africa. In one part of the ride, the skipper fires off a gun in order to scare off an animatronic hippo, and that's why, despite them not being native to South America, as the young girl points out, there is an animatronic hippo in the movie. While there are a number of fantastical and fictional elements in the movie, there are some things that are based on truth and historical events, such as the character of Don Aguirre, who's played by Edgar Ramirez in the movie. Aguirre was indeed a Spanish conquistador and is best known for his final expedition down the Amazon River in search of the mythical Golden Kingdom El Dorado. This movie is not the first to make reference to Aguirre, with him being the main character in Werner Herzog's masterpiece Aguirre, Wrath of God. And there are a number of references to the movie in Jungle Cruise. One of my favorites is Jesse Plemons' accent, which mimics the cadence of Herzog. Back to Jesse Plemons though, his character, Prince Joachim, was also a real person, and was in fact the son of Kaiser Wilhelm II. However, while the prince dies confronting Lily Ann McGregor in the movie, the real prince dies after committing suicide in 1920. Music has a big part to do with Jungle Cruise, and if you listened carefully, you would have noticed that the score has some hidden tunes in it. After the prince chases after Lily, Frank, and McGregor, he hums a piece from Richard Wagner's opera Lohengrin, prelude to Act 3, while we can hear an orchestral reworking of Metallica's Nothing Else Matters during the flashback scene with the Spanish conquistadors and a tribe of indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest, with the band collaborating on the reworking. Finally, a quick piece of trivia for you. Apparently in 2011, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen were in talks to work on the project. A Toy Story version of Jungle Cruise? Aw man, this I gotta see.